Milad, what's the craziest customer interaction you've ever had? Now, when I used to work at my parents' Subway, I was no stranger to having some pretty interesting customers come in from time to time. If you've watched me for a long time, you know that sometimes people that are ordering food are just completely unhinged. Not like all the time or not even a majority of the time. But the thing is, when somebody does, put on an unhinged episode, it's one that sticks out in your mind. Now, this story, I wouldn't say it's unhinged. I would just say it was a little peculiar to say the least. So one night while I was working at the store, I had customers coming in literally like customer after customer swamping me. It felt like one of those non-stop days where literally every 5 seconds a customer would come in and I'd have a line the entire time. And to make things even worse, the person that was supposed to work on shift with me, he didn't show up to work that day. I think he was sick or something, but that just left me all alone with all of these customers. And at my job at Subway, it wasn't just making sandwiches. Like, there was a lot of other responsibilities there too. Some examples of the responsibilities are like filling vegetables, filling up the chips, filling up the sodas, a little bit of everything. Now, it was getting to the end of the shift and I was still by myself and I was able to have like a sigh of relief. I finally didn't have any customers coming in and all of a sudden I hear that door jingle. It was like 9:25 and the store closes at 9:30, so I was like, you know what, let's just take care of this customer. She seems like a nice lady, so I take care of her and she gives me a tip, which is like, wow, you don't have to do that. To this day, I still don't understand like tipping. I could do a whole separate video on that, but I think tipping culture is just like, it's something else. Like, I'm there to make your sandwich and you're paying for the sandwich. I don't think you have to like break out more bills just to give to me. I appreciate it, don't get me wrong, like I'll always appreciate it, but yeah, that's just a whole nother topic. But this woman was so kind and she just got one sandwich, so I was like, okay, finally I get to close up the store. So when you're closing up the Subway, it goes in this order usually. First, I'll take out the garbage, then I'll start filling up the chips and the drinks in the front, then I'll start filling up the sauces, and the last thing I'll do is fill up all the vegetables and meats in the front, just so that the person the next morning has everything taken care of. And then you finally pack everything away and you put it in the fridge, you turn off the lights, turn off the air conditioner, close the register, and you get to leave and be on your way. So after this grueling day of making sandwiches, look at me, I'm like speaking as if I went to war. I made a couple sandwiches. But after my shift, I was actually so ready to go home. Like, I think it was one of the most exhausted I'd ever been. So I start to do the garbage, I start filling up the chips and the drinks in the front, and at this point it's like 9:40, so 10 minutes after I close up, and as soon as I finish with the chips and the drinks, I hear a customer knocking at the door. Now, here's the thing, usually if you show up to a restaurant after hours, it'll probably not go the way that you want it to. Like, this actually happened to me and my dad last week. We went to a pizza shop and it was like 10 minutes before they were supposed to close, and they told us they couldn't make us a pizza. So I mean, that was one of my favorite pizza shops. I don't know if it really is going to be anymore, but anyways, back to the story. It was 10 minutes after closing and this guy knocks on the door, and I had locked the door, so I go up to it and I open it, and he's standing there and he's like, are you guys closed? And I'm like, yeah, we closed 10 minutes ago. And he gives me one of the, oh man, what am I gonna do? Like, it felt like I just told him the worst news imaginable. So I genuinely felt bad for the guy. I was like, man, he seems like he really wants this sandwich and all of my stuff is already out. Like, I haven't really started packing up yet. So I said, you know what, one last customer, it's not gonna hurt. I let the man in. He's so thankful. He's like, dude, thank you. Like, thank you from the bottom of my heart. You would think I just gave him like the greatest news on earth, but I'm just gonna make him a sandwich. But anyways, he comes up to the line. I get back there, start putting on my gloves, and I say, what can I get for you, sir? The next words that came out of his mouth were the most horrifying words I think that could have been imaginable in that moment. He said, I'm gonna get 7 sandwiches. Now, I already know internally I was just screaming at the top of my lungs, and on the outside I was probably just trying to keep it cool and not saying a word. But I must have froze for like 15 seconds, just like contemplating my entire life in my mind. 7 sandwiches, huh? That's a lot of sandwiches. Now, if you've ever worked in the food industry, you've probably experienced something pretty similar to this. You're unwinding for the day and the customer comes in last minute and tells you, I'm gonna get like maybe 15 burgers or something along the lines of that. I mean, 15 burgers even sounds worse than 7 sandwiches, I'm not gonna lie to you, but it's a pretty common occurrence apparently. So much so that I made a video about this very concept on my YouTube shorts, and everybody thought that I stole this story from The Odd Ones Out. Unbelievable. The Odd Ones Out is another YouTuber that used to work at Subway as well. No, I didn't steal the story from anybody. This is literally something that happened like once a week at my Subway. Maybe not after we close, but people come in and order like 7 sandwiches at once all the time. But anyways, back to this kind gentleman that was ready to order the entire menu off of me. I look down, look back up, look back down, and in that moment, I'm like, should I just tell this guy I can't do it? But no, I didn't. I decided, you know what? I let this man into the restaurant. I'm making his 7 sandwiches. So instead of going one by one, I just pull out all 7 loaves of bread, and I'm like, man, I got to give you all Italian because I literally have no other bread left. And sometimes there's this glistening hope that all 7 sandwiches are going to be the same. Now, if you do that, that makes my job very easy. We just make one and I just repeat it for the next 6 sandwiches. But nope, every single sandwich was different. Every single one of them. Like, not one of those 7 sandwiches was identical to the other. But it's okay. I'm not going to complain. I'm just trying to get through the sandwiches. And so I make them one by one with this guy, and it must have been like 9:55 at this point. And I finally finish all of the sandwiches, and he goes to me, okay, now I'm going to need 4 more. Oh man, in that moment, I was like, I think I was about to cry. But this guy just goes, nah, I'm kidding with you. I don't actually need them. And I ring him up for the sandwiches, and he leaves me a fat tip. You know, going back to the conversation before, I don't understand tipping culture. Even like in that moment, I don't think he should have tipped me because he probably paid something like $45, $50 for all the sandwiches. Honestly, probably more. Like, inflation's so bad, guys. It's such a weird time for us millennials. Well, I guess I'm Gen Z. I don't know what I am. But he insisted on letting me keep the big tip that he gave me, and then he was on his way with his 7 sandwiches. I was about a half hour late to where I had to be afterwards. But for some reason, it felt good. I don't know what he was going to go do with the sandwiches. My guess was that he was going to either go feed his family, or who knows, maybe he was meal prepping for the week, or this was secretly Matt Stoney that was just coming in my sandwich shop and getting a ton of sandwiches for a video or something. I don't know. Maybe it's a competitive eater. Who knows? But at least he was nice and he wasn't a Karen, and I never saw the man again in my entire life. So if you're the one that ordered all those sandwiches, I hope they were good. I hope I didn't rush through them. And if you enjoyed this video, please watch another one and subscribe and comment your craziest story for me to read. I love reading the comments. I love reading your guys' stories. So give me the juiciest story you have while working, or just the juiciest story you have in general. All right, anyways, I love you. Peace. Bye.